Hey, thanks for joining Sales with Suli, a mom of 3 who spent the last 12 summers knocking doors. Welcome to my podcast where I talk about all things women, the ups and downs of my journey, and what it takes to find success on and off the doors. Go ahead and enjoy part 2 of this episode.
Cool. Moving on to self-love. What is your definition of self-love?
Mine is very simple. It's just compassion, having compassion for yourself. I think in the simplest terms, that's the best way I've learned to understand it is, having, if you have a little kid, like say a little girl or a little boy, if they mess up or they do something wrong, you're not like, you big idiot. You're like, it's okay, sweetheart. Like, you can try again. You're going to get better. You have room to grow. And if we all looked at ourselves in that way, or think if you only had like the slightest amount of self-love that you have for other people, or like those unconditional love that you have for like your mom or your own kids or your husband or, boyfriend, lots of times I have to remind myself that like treat yourself just as good as you would treat someone else, because it's a lot easier to do that sometimes. But
yeah, my definition for self-love just has a lot to do with forgiveness. I feel like we're just so hard on ourselves, especially women. We feel like we have to look a certain way or act like a certain way. Not to say that men don't feel the same way either. Not that we don't have great mentors or great men in our lives. We're definitely, not downplaying them or that. But I feel like in order for us to find that self-love in ourselves, it's just finding value. Just learning to just forgive ourselves when we are having a crappy day, or just knowing that it's going to happen. Nobody is perfect. No one is without bad days or drama or whatever they have going on in the background. And so I just think self-love just has a lot to do with forgiveness all the way around.
absolutely.
For me, self-discipline is the definition of self-love. I feel as though when I am, and I don't want to use the word push because it's not necessarily always pushing myself. It's when I am thinking of that dream vision of my life, thinking of what I actually want and what I want for my soul, and then absolutely making it so that no excuses get in the way of that. I feel like I've gained almost all of my self-confidence through accomplishing goals. And
showing up for yourself.
Exactly.
Keeping the promises you make to yourselves, being disciplined
100%.
brings so much fulfillment to your life. It's just literally unexplainable, honestly.
All of these commercialized things of what will make you feel beautiful, what will make you feel good, and it's none of that. It's all a hoax.
It's
they
a
just want our
scam.
summer money.
They're getting it.
Well, I really love that nobody has said it's that I wash my face every day, or that it's that twice a week when I wash my hair or whatever. However y'all wash your hair.
Like the typical
Typical. Okay, everybody, but it's fine. Because it's those little things shouldn't be considered self-love. That should just be something that you're doing to take care of yourself every day. And so I think sometimes that it's so misconfigured and you're almost shamed for taking time for yourself. When it's I'm going to sit down and do a hair mask. I want to get my nails done. I think that it's good that we're straying away from the image of being self-loving versus actually working inward instead of just outward. So I think that's hugely misconfigured in today's society is what really self-love is. So I love that nobody's been it's that. Yeah, I don't know.
It's that boob job.
That. Yeah, right. It's a boob job. If a boob job makes you feel better, that's great. But that is not self-love.
Right.
That is not self-love. Yeah.
I love mine personally.
I wish I could say the same.
I just think it's so important though to straight the misconception of self-care too is taking it easy and slowing down and treating yourself to chocolate or a nice bath or go get your hair done. But really self-love and self-care is making the right choices for yourself, whether that's a difficult and uncomfortable and scary choice for yourself, or it's that taking that deep breath and relaxing and taking that time. I think that people always think it's just slow down, take it easy, do the easier, more simple thing that's going to make you feel comfortable in the moment. But as I've done that, it doesn't always make you feel better, and it doesn't always help you feel more fulfilled, you know, and take care of yourself better. Sometimes you have to challenge and push yourself.
It's getting out of
And
the
it's-
toxic relationships, right?
Right,
There you
yeah,
go.
exactly. That's a great example.
That is a great
But-
example.
I love that we all kind of had that, though. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, that's where I was like, I wanted to say that, but I didn't want to like ruin anybody that was like, so I love that.
She's like, oh,
I'm not definitely like, yeah, I'm not gonna give us original.
Yeah.
they can hear it. They're gonna be all right.
They'll be fine.
It's fine. They're fine.
Yep.
Okay, the next question on here is why is self-love something crucial for women to learn and understand in order for them to find joy in their journey?
Because it's so misconstrued, like we said. I feel it's what's constantly shoved down our throats is this is how you feel good about yourself. And I don't want to play, like, it's not a victimizing thing. It's not anything. And I feel so commonly that when we talk about these issues, it's like oh, you feel bad for yourself. You poor woman who, like, grew up in a first world country. And it's okay to still want to change things, even though we are in every sense
Right.
privileged.
Right.
So what needs to be changed and what needs to start being, I guess, programmed into women's minds is that self-love and those affirmations that we should be saying to ourselves have nothing to do with how we look, because whether we like it or not, there are plenty of things that we're not going to be able to change.
Right.
But what you accomplish, that is completely in your control.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing with that, like incorporating that into joy and happiness in your life, is just that goes back to that self-discipline. But as women, it's not that we're victims. It's not that we're like, oh, we've always had the short end of the stick. You know what I mean? But it's that we necessarily haven't always had that space to talk and to have a voice. We've always kind of been like, you're the one, we're the big dogs and we'll handle the heavy hits. But we are just as capable. And it's not that we don't have the opportunity and we can't take advantage of opportunities in front of us. It's just that a lot of times there's not that space for us to show that or to speak up. Like I would say me and Bella, we have so much value in our region to bring, but we're not always given the opportunity to use our voice. It's more other people have the option before us. We are blessed with amazing mentors that listen to us and work hard, and they always create that space when we need it. But I feel like it's not something that comes naturally.
Yeah.
And it's not something that's there already. And it's hard for them to look at that in the mirror and kind of be like, okay, I can do better, you know?
Yeah, and I do want to point that out that, there are some awesome male mentors. There are some awesome men in our lives who cheer us on. Like, I have those who are just always there for us, willing to, like, bend over backwards.
Yeah.
But I feel like there could be more amongst, like, just society, period.
Well,
Absolutely.
what we were talking about before and what we talked about with Amber actually in our last meeting, and what I was talking to Cameron about, I was like, well, the reason that we're all speaking up is because there's 10 of us. But when it's like 2 of us with 30 men in a room,
It's
one of
hard,
us speaks up and it's like, what did she say? I didn't hear you. So it's like, it's not that even people mean to do it. It's not that there's ever any ill intentions behind it, but it's just like how society works. Like, it's like proven that if there's fewer women in the room, then they're not going to speak up and their opinions aren't going to be taken as seriously. That's why it's so important to incorporate women in like a corporate field and like executive teams, because we're more likely to speak up and our opinions are more likely to be heard. Not saying that Hannah and I don't speak up and that we're not heard, but we're more like, it's just statistically proven that when there's more of us, then we don't feel almost ashamed or bad for speaking up.
Yeah.
It would be the
So-
same way if it was 30 women and 2
Yeah,
boys. The boys would be like, I don't really know what I'm doing here. I feel weird. Like, this is so weird.
Yeah.
It's just, that's just how it kind of goes.
Well,
you know?
in that sense, we all need to take accountability as women to belong in those spaces. Because
To
Hannah's
put ourselves
100%
there.
right. It's not necessarily everyone else's fault.
Yeah.
It's that
And it's not
we need to
necessarily
be
their
showing up
job.
for all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's not
absolutely.
men's job to give us that place. It's our job to put
Create
ourselves
it,
in
yeah.
that space and create that space. And I think that's where, like, oh, we speak up and we talk about it and they're like, oh yeah, you're so mad at all the men in your life. It's like, no.
No.
Like, we have there's so much support and so much understanding, but it comes off as like kind of intimidating and kind of pushy when a female comes in the room and is like, I have something to say.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's just
she's
because
like-
it's not normal and it's not like it's almost just kind of like, whoa, all right, who's this lady? Like,
Exactly.
And it shouldn't be like that.
Earlier, Hannah, you used the word anomaly, and I'm so sick and tired of men telling me I'm an
I
anomaly.
thought
I
I
am
was
so done. I
We
mean it
have-
as a compliment, but again,
You're like-
it's our responsibility as women to change that. I don't want to be
Right.
an anomaly anymore. I want this to be normalized.
Mhm.
And it's not everyone else's fault, but as women who are considering getting into whatever industry it is, whether it's male dominated or not, it's push those boundaries and invite other women to feel comfortable coming into them as well.
They're
Right.
paving the way.
Exactly.
They're paving the way,
Absolutely.
ladies. Need to go.
And just for the sake of the time, we're gonna go to the last page.
The last
for
page? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Sorry, I never
Under
want to cut
journey.
you guys off.
I know,
I'm
there's
like,
no-
moderate this.
no, and I love like some of these things that they're saying that I'm just like I'm not even worried about it, but I do want to get to some of the tips.
So this one here,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. So this is about an industry ran by men. So this question says, what advice would you give to a woman?
Oh no! So that was like part of the question there. So like that was like part of that second question.
I see now.
But no,
I
so
see
the
now.
question would be like, what
Yes,
advice
it's
would you
fine.
give?
That's why I'm the moderator.
Yeah.
She knows. I got this.
It's fine.
Okay, what advice would you give to a woman struggling to tap into her potential?
I loved this question. I just think that to even build self-confidence and like self-love and really try to tap into yourself, you have to push yourself to do hard things. I think being disciplined and like we already talked about earlier, keeping those promises that you make to yourself. Anytime I feel insecure, I make myself like, okay, on Tuesday, I'm going to go to this yoga class at this time. If I don't do that, I'm gonna feel like a piece of crap again. But you make yourself and put yourself in those situations to show up just for you, and it just builds slowly but surely that confidence inside of you. And I just say just start being more disciplined. Men by nature are raised to be more disciplined. Women are almost more pampered. Like my sweet little girl, or like, you fell, get up, son, like you're fine. And that's not like ingrained into our system. And I think that we have to do that for ourselves a lot. Start with being more disciplined and doing hard things, cold showers, runs, reading the books, meditating even when you don't want to. No cold showers.
Right?
Hot showers.
My hot water is broken right now.
Oh,
This
no.
morning was super-
Touchy subject.
I think finding a community is so important. That is why I love summer sales so much, is because when are you ever in your life going to be surrounded by 25 people, 30 people, however many people that want the same goal for you? Like they want you to succeed just as much as you want to succeed. You don't find that anywhere. Like when you go into a classroom, it's like, well, what grade did you get on that test? I think that's why a summer is like so life-changing, is because you're being uplifted by everybody around you. You're never going to have that. There's always going to be doubters, but there's nobody in a circle at correlation that doubts any single person in there.
Never.
And so I think finding a community to like bring you up and hold you accountable too.
Right.
Like just like Hannah was saying, like I have a group message with all of my girls, and it's like, hey, I'm going to yoga 6 a.m. Monday. Like, see you guys there. If I don't show up, they're going to be like, hey, Bella, went to class, didn't see you. Like, what's up?
That's
and so
kind
it's
of-
like
yeah.
holding that accountability and like
Right.
just making sure, like keeping me on my toes. I don't know what I would do without my community.
Right.
Like they genuinely like fuel my fire, like make me want to work harder, make me want to find the next better book.
Right.
Like so that I can bring better opinions. And I don't know. I think
think
community is just
That is such a good thing to bring up too, because I feel like our region, and I mean that's just the experience we have. Other regions are amazing too, and there's other people in the industry, but it's really important to find people that do support you. And even if they don't, like my manager Jason, for an example, lots of times I'd call him and he's probably like, I don't understand what you're trying to tell me right now, but I'm gonna sit here. Yeah, I'm gonna sit here and listen. And instead of having someone as your mentor or someone that you go to their team that doesn't really truly support you or isn't willing to learn and grow and understand and try to truly want the best for you, you need to find that. You need to find those people that you can trust.
You
Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
You be that
absolutely.
person for others. Yeah.
in your home, in your own team, and in your little circle, you be the example.
Exactly.
well, even just like a mom for your kids, like you have to like create that peacefulness, that home, that community, like
Right.
in your own home. So that like I love that.
Well, this doesn't just go into women. I think it's men and women. Like, let's group this together because that's what we're aiming for, to all be equal.
Yeah.
And with it, it's putting action behind things. I feel as though so often when especially I'm talking to the younger crowd of, I don't know what I want to do, so I'm just following my bliss, like figuring it out. I have to find my niche, and it's not about that. It's picking something and going with it,
And working hard
your
at
hardest
it.
at it. And if you want to change, find something else before you make that change.
Totally.
Right.
It's actually always progressing no matter what you're doing, and summer sales is a really great outlet for that.
Right.
Because if you even just work the hours and are a terrible salesman, you can still do this job.
Right.
Let's be real, you totally can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll find those laydowns every day.
I want to hear from you. What would you say? Right? Cecilia, what would you... Sold. I'm coming. Sign me up. We leave May 1st. Practice starts January 1st.
I'm going over Sully, so like April 1st.
I'm not going out at all. So I'm gonna be rooting
I don't
for all
believe
of
you.
guys on.
I don't believe you. I'm saying it on camera. I don't believe her.
You can't say no to
I don't
money.
believe her either. She said that 2 years ago.
Yeah. I'm going to just go sell 250.
She's like, Cecilia's only heard it 2
Yeah.
years, but everyone else here has probably like heard it the last 6 years.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Many times.
Cecilia, what would you say though? I would love to hear your, just because you have like a different perspective than like a lot of us. With me, what would you
Right,
like?
yeah,
How
we
would
all
you
kind of
answer
are in
that
the
question?
Do you want me to repeat
Yeah,
the
can you
question?
repeat it? I know what the question is because I was like listening, but
Okay,
No,
so
yeah.
it's what advice would you give to a woman struggling to tap into her potential?
well, because I work in the mental health field, I work with a lot of people who have come from very traumatic backgrounds. And so if you're dealing with a lot of mental illness going into this field, or if you have trauma that you're still dealing with, you got to notice it. You have to be aware of where that's presenting in your life, and you have to
Yes.
address those. And then really, I love what Sully said. You can be the creator of difference in your own life, and then that, like you said, your team, your community, that started with someone.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone.
Yeah.
Some guy. Some guy. Some one person.
Yeah.
And you'll notice it as you become, I don't know if you guys want to be mothers or whatnot, but as a mom, like you said, I am the leader of my house. Yes, there's a man there,
Yeah.
and he's a leader in his own way, but I am the leader, and I can be the leader wherever I go. And so in my culture,
Yeah.
my Maori culture, my great grandmother was a chief S.
Yes.
She was the leader of her community in her village. And so she's actually renowned in New Zealand. And so I draw a lot of strength from her.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you think and she drew a lot of strength from her dad. But anyways, whenever I think of her, that strength and that energy level skyrockets. Like if I'm having a bad day and I think, Wetekia, ooh, it's so uncomfortable. If I was
Just
able to
lights
show you a
that
picture of her,
fire.
you'd be like, wow, she's fire.
Yeah.
Back in the early 1800s, 1700s, she was a woman that could read. She was a woman that received visions. She was a woman that brought happiness and love to her village. Like, boom, fire,
we
right?
can do all those
And you
things.
have
Right.
your own village within your own sphere.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you're drawing from a community, but you ultimately create that community.
Yeah.
I think how you said that too, it just resonated so much with me because everybody has their own traumas and their own insecurities and their own doubts, but freely being able to sit with those emotions. And that's what one of my therapists taught me so well, acknowledge them and sit with them and understand them. Because if you just try to keep shoving them and compartmentalize, it's like holding a balloon underwater. It's gonna pop back up the second you shuffle your hands a little bit. The second you aren't completely focused on shoving it underneath in the pool, it's just gonna pop right back up. So you have to be able to find a way to understand and truly understand and let go of those insecurities or those doubts or those traumas and things like that. And that's such a huge start. It's so refreshing even to hear that after you can do that and really acknowledge it. It's just kind of the start of it.
Okay, I have one more question for you guys. What advice would you give to a woman at the top of her game?
Suli, I want to hear from you.
Yeah. It's just what I had said before. A lot of people are just what did you do differently, this last year? And the reason why I wanted to start getting into the space because the first 3, 4, 5 years of knocking doors, I did find success in a male dominated industry and whatnot, and I had a lot of male figure mentors who were awesome and to this day are still awesome. But I always thought back to, why didn't I become my own mentor? Like, why wasn't I like that great to myself? And that didn't start until like my last 2 summers, like in Nashville, doing 756, and this last year, you know, doing over 1,000 accounts. I think that my journey had started when I was pregnant, you know, with my last son. Like, it was a lot more self-reflecting, and I think a lot of times in our industry we're just focusing on the process of reading books, the process of getting our pitches down, the process of, you know, just showing up. But the process that I saw that I was neglecting, and what I coach a lot of the girls on right now, it's just me. It's like what happens behind closed doors. And I didn't start working on those things until these last 2 summers. And it's just crazy the difference in numbers that I saw, because I started to work on myself. Like, I started to work on the things that I need to do personally that had nothing to do with sales. But because I learned to accept my flaws, to accept my past, to accept myself, I just started seeing things like fall into place. And again, I finally now start to believe what other people believe, you know, see in me. And it was just like, you know, I'm grateful for all of you guys and just people in my life who were just, you know, so supportive from far away, because more people were cheering me on than I was cheering myself on. And I didn't start cheering for me till like probably 18 months ago. And I think that was like the biggest difference.
And
I was
that's
just
so good.
Right, goosebumps.
Yeah, no, I want to cry. It's just you finally turned inward, and instead of trying to live up to all of these great things that people told you about yourself, and trying to like, am I actually that? Am I actually that?
Yeah.
Instead of like trying to say, I'm here, I feel here, and people think I'm here, you're like, no, I'm literally here, and I want to be here. So now you turn inward, and you're actually able to find that growth and find those little things that were holding you back, and that's just so empowering. It's awesome.
It's just really it. I'm just now catching up to what you guys think. So, and that's why I want like so many, like just more women just being able to just bring others up, because you guys don't even know, like, just kind of the examples and like what you guys are doing when you guys are like so sincere and like texting people and saying like, you're awesome, like, I hope you're having a good day. Like, we really don't know like what we're doing. And so I know a lot of times, like, you know, there's a lot of people who will have podcasts, or a lot of people who will do like different things to like say, okay, these are the things that we need to change. But I kind of want to have like a call to action. Like, what are some things, like, I know that was like the last question, but what are some things that you guys think that we can start doing when we leave this room to be examples, or to help like other people start wanting to, I don't know how to voice it, to just be more positive, like influence like other women, or you know, continue to do that. Like, I definitely want to hear Celia's thoughts, just because I just feel like she's super like good at that, at like bringing people up and just like being an example yourself. But I want us to just not like, okay, we did a podcast, great, like now the day's over, but I want like, and I'm actually going to text you guys like later, like, hey, like, what are some things that you guys are doing?
Yes, accountability.
Yeah,
It is.
I hope you do.
But yeah, what are some things that we can start doing, you know, to be example and to help bring others up after this?
Well, I think just sitting in the circle and even getting to know you out there, you're doing it. And I think recognizing that you guys are doing hard things and giving yourself a pat on the back is what can go a long way. And so the neurons that fire together wire together.
There it is again.
Start using that in
Our brain. Because you guys have done 75 hard, you've done all these hard things, and that doesn't go in vain. That has been wired in your brain, in your emotional blueprint. And so those things that you do that are very hard, pat yourself on the back and know that it's not in vain. Like, it's actually been hardwired. So now you've already developed a lot of things that will help you in your next trials, your next set of trials.
Right.
So I really don't. We've said a lot of things in this podcast. So it's been really good.
I think that's huge, though. Not just sitting and having a good conversation and then going back to life exactly how you did before.
Yeah.
I think really trying to apply the things that we talk about and be that genuine person and for yourself and for others. I think that goes to show in your group of people. I think you can observe it with the people around you, how you can affect them and what you can learn from other people, keeping your heart open to advice, and you're always a student, never a teacher in life. I think that's such a good thing to remember. First thing when I wake up every day, I'm like, okay, what am I going to learn today? Like, I literally look at myself as a student, not a teacher ever. That's something yoga taught me. So you can be very good at something, you could be the best at something, but there's always another level to it and another level to yourself that can be unlocked. So just remembering that and not having that ego. Holding on to that.
I think I kind of bring this into like again, the community aspect of that, because that's such like a big part of me. But figuring out other people's like, not necessarily, but yes, other people's like love languages. It doesn't have to be like in a relationship way. I feel like some people, it's anyways, but like figuring out their love languages, like figuring out if that person needs a phone call or if that person just needs like a book, or if this person will come to me if they need something, and just being like an example. Like, I can't preach all of these things. I can't be like, yes, you should do your diffuser in the morning. You should read your book every day. You should take that 15 minutes to meditate and then not do it. Right. So it's like being that example and not figuring out what other people need, but figuring out like, not even that people necessarily need help, but just like how I can be a positive influence, because if they're like, I'm struggling with anxiety, well, and giving advice on anxiety, or even like taking the time to listen, I think that that's important too. Is like some people just need an open ear, and just need you to like take something off of their shoulders in a way. I talk a lot about buckets. And so like filling other people's buckets, figuring out how they need their bucket filled without like emptying my own is huge, because I can't give if I don't have anything to give. So
yeah, and that's so great.
Thanks.
Understanding.
And for me, I felt like when I was younger, I was really confused. It took me a long time to start finding those mentors. And like when I was, 17, 18, I'm like, I'm going to go to hair school. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just a very typical thing to do, to go be an esthetician, to go to hair school. And I felt like those were the obvious options. And so opening up other women's minds to, there are a lot more options, because what I like to preach so often is making sure that you are making yourself feel proud every single day. And if you can do those things like fill other people's buckets or your own, and if you're not filling your bucket and making yourself feel like you actually accomplished something, then you're not going to get anywhere in life and you're going to end up very unsatisfied. And so opening up those options so that other women can see like there's much more that you can do with your life. You can be one of those big hitters in the game and accomplish things, or work in a very male-dominated industry.
Yeah, I love that. Let's take the next couple days, couple weeks, and let's start filling other people's buckets.
Right.
That'll be good.
Yes.
But thank you guys so much for being here. And I definitely want to reemphasize just some of the things that were said. And I need Celia to say it again. Neurons that
Fire together,
wire together. Yeah.
Good job, ladies.
we're definitely
Right? We can all say it together. Wire together.
We'll end there. Thank you.
That's great, man.
And cut.
Thanks for taking the time to tune in. If I've added any kind of value to your thoughts on knocking doors, please share this podcast with another female rep. Until next time, know that you are capable, you are valued, and most importantly, you are enough.